welcome to What the Flicks reviews of Marvel and Netflix's Jessica Jones. We're going to wind down to the bottom right now. We have episodes 10, 11, and 12. Next week we'll handle the finale and our final thoughts on the series as a whole. But right now we have AKA 1,000 Cuts, AKA I've Got the Blues, and AKA Take a Bloody Number. So in 1,000 Cuts, Killgrave has escaped. He's forced Jerry to take him to Wendy, his ex-wife, and it does not go well. And things seem to be falling apart in Hogarth's life. So we also discover his father, Albert, at that time. He's working on a vaccine to stop Killgrave, but that also does not go well for him so much. Things are going real bad.
I think with this one is what we kind of see more so is that what Killgrave kind of tried to use as his excuse kind of comes to fruition with Hogarth, is that like, although he has made choices for her, he kind of has, I would say, just assisted in helping her make choices that she's already been thinking about. So she made the choice to cut the hard wire that would stop from the electricity, right? That was her own choice. Then also he asked her about a doctor. The first one, knowing full well...
He said, take me to someone, a doctor you trust.
Knowing full well that would
wording.
put her in jeopardy, she went forth and took her to her ex-wife Wendy, and that would cause to be one of the major downfalls in that episode of her.
Well, there was also that bargain that they had was that he would help her take care of the Wendy situation, and he did.
Kind of did, yeah, with her help as well, because poor, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name, Hogarth's mistress, as she comes in and kills Wendy. I'm forgetting her name. Her name is Hogarth's mistress. That's what we're going to call it. So she, that's I mean, surely that's on Hogarth's conscience now, because she was clearly an instrumental factor in this, and now the woman who she loves is now going to have to face the guilt of being obviously someone who's caused murder, because she had to take the choice into her own hands to help her.
And it is interesting that we see Killgrave kind of still go that justice path. The way that he decides to actually side with Wendy and have her, like, he kind of goes back on his promise with Hogarth, and he's like, no, I'm going to do this really twisted right thing.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
And
not figuratively, literally. And she chases her around with a knife, and it's scary.
And it's because that's what she said, right? That's what, like, when he asked her to describe it, she's like, well, death by 1,000 cuts, and then he used that literally in his twisted way to turn it around on him. And then we move forward and we think about, I mean, I just can't help but feel sorry for Albert, right? I know that we're giving both sides. We're giving Killgrave's side that he was tormented as a child and was basically a lab rat, and then you see him constantly trembling throughout, just sheerly petrified of his own son. Was that the only one alone there? Did I feel bad for him, or do you blame him just as much as Jessica did at first?
I don't understand still why Killgrave's parents thought they needed to do this. Was this ever explained?
I don't feel it was ever fully explained.
They touched on his health issues that they were trying to help him.
But why the other children?
And maybe that's something we'll learn. You know, going into the final episode. I don't know, but I do feel it was an extreme. But were they really, like, are they Hydra scientists? Are they part of AIM? Are they a bigger situation? You know, I don't know, but I feel it was definitely an extreme. But I do feel, you know, it is hard to not feel sorry for them.
After what? I mean, if you go by that reasoning, oh, well, he had a degenerative condition, he would have been dead by 12. You kind of feel bad for him because it seems to have maybe started with good intentions at least, but this is still not a good thing that has happened.
Well, talking about good intentions, I thought that Simpson had good intentions from the get-go, but clearly I'm not a very good judge of character. He's mental.
Moving into Take a Bloody Number, we follow Simpson and his history with IGH, taking the red pill and just going crazy. Jessica and Patsy.
Trish.
It's
Patsy. Patsy.
They have a discussion of, you know, that guy's horrible. No, he was a good guy before the drugs. What should we think of him? Is he a good guy? Without the drugs? Did the drugs do it, or did the drugs awaken something in him?
And that's the same thing, I think, with both. With like, he's portrayed sort of villainous towards the end of this, right? So I feel that's the same thing about we're following this dilemma with Killgrave. We know he's a monster. We know he's horrible, but then when he tries to reason with everyone else, he says, these instincts are already in you. I'm just basically giving you this push over the edge. So the same thing with Simpson is he really that violent of a character? Because we've seen him he's fighting with his mental stability because Killgrave controlled him. Maybe these pills are just what he needed to kind of come out of character and show his true colors.
Okay, here's the thing with Simpson is he's based off of a character Nuke, who ultimately is a bad guy in the comics. So we kind of know that he's this bad guy, but in the Netflix universe, we deal a lot with PTSD in this series, as well as, rape and the other themes. But in PTSD, specifically in Simpson's case, it does make you wonder, is he a product of something worse that has happened to him by being in the war or, going through some traumatic experience? And was he put through something far worse and these pills helped him, or did he allow himself to become this and it's even, affecting him even more? So I think he's a gray character. I think he's also a great character. I think he falls along this interesting line that he chose to go down this path. But I think to color him a villain or a hero or say that he was bad with good intentions is hard to say, because I really would like to see more of them exploring him through the eyes of someone with PTSD.
Yeah, and you can see that he's still trying to claw into his own humanity, so to speak, because whenever Trish steps in or whenever she has a word of reasoning, it seems to talk him off the edge a little bit. But then I think as we see when that pill kicks in, there's nothing really you can do to stop yourself. We see Trish come into it. Just pumped.
Feeling good.
She just took some pre-workout and she was ready to lift some weights in there. And she was throwing him around. And then obviously we seen that he warned her that you had to have a blue pill to come down.
And we really see the effects of that pill. And after taking it for so long, what does that do on the body and the mind?
What I also like about Trish's involvement is it gives, obviously it rounds out Jessica's character arc. We see her show, we've seen the emotion throughout. We see her cry when in the Hope situation, which we need to touch on. That was another very dark scene. This last quarter, I would say, of episodes have provided some of the darkest, gruesome scenes, darkest scenes. Some like we've got hands in blenders, we've got just like some awful things. But so when you see kind of Hope is a good demonstration of what Jessica's trying to do. She's obviously clinging on to Hope. There's the symbolic side there. But with Trish, she brings out a side in Jessica that makes her vulnerable, I think, but at the same time makes her more human than anything else.
Well, this is later, but, Trish is the only one Jessica truly, deeply loves, and she's an integral part of her, even though she, can't keep up with her in the fights and kind of messes up when it's, the three of them with Simpson together. But she represents something so important to her, which is, I don't know, family at this point?
Feelings.
What's left?
Just kind of like
what to fight for?
Absolutely. So what about that scene with, I don't remember exactly what episode it was, because it was just like the scene where Hope is finally...
It's a blur.
She takes Hope into...
we haven't discussed it yet, so let's talk about that.
I just was like, he's always got... You go into these scenes and you're just kind of thinking, what else is he going to have lined up? He's got 60 people waiting to kill himself. He's got the hospital ready to attack people, as we'll get on and talk about. He's just got so many plan B and C lined up that you just don't really know what to anticipate. But with that, I didn't see Hope taking her own life. I thought that was a really harsh blow.
I didn't understand why Hope needed to do, or felt she needed to do that.
I think it was because she wanted to allow Jessica the courage to kill her. To kill him. Yeah, because as Simpson keeps stating, she doesn't want to kill Killgrave, and people are trying to push the system on him when there's no reason.
She does want to kill him, though.
Well, now she does, because Hope is finally out of jail. She wanted to keep him alive so that she could prove to the system that Hope is innocent.
Terrible. So she's saying, I don't matter, what my plight is done. Just
she sacrificed
But I also
herself.
wonder if it came down to it for Hope herself, that she just felt hopelessness, if she had just run out of options. It was a very tragic and sad scene that, for that young girl who has been a pivotal point throughout all these episodes, the one person that Jessica was trying to save, that she saw no other way out. And it was tough. And it was, was it a plot device to finally give Jessica the impetus to go and kill Killgrave? It can be argued that maybe they could have done something a little bit differently, because that was the one thing in the overall series that I felt was the weakest, because I don't feel it was necessary that Jessica needs to go kill him. I don't necessarily think that death is the answer. We don't need to, while she's a great anti-superhero, but do we need to really go forth?
That's an interesting discussion. Does Killgrave have to die?
And that is interesting. Well, it's interesting because it's a theme that we see in every superhero kind of like fiasco that's going on. Batman with the Dark Knight, does he have to kill the Joker and all that? Was one of the best kind of talking points throughout that. Does he have to kill him in order to kind of beat him and have everyone be a little bit more safe? The same thing is with Jessica, the way that in all these kind of superhero roles, if you're vulnerable, you can't do what's necessary to protect everyone else, because whilst Jessica wants to protect everyone else, she still got Hope's intentions at the forefront of everything. So she can't. So what happens if Killgrave's got everyone, a bunch of people lined up, what she does, and he has to kill all of them, and the only way to answer is if Jessica was to kill him. She still wouldn't do it because she was thinking about Hope's safety. So Hope was being, I would say, the most selfless out of all of them, is that even though it was so tragic, she was being selfless by allowing Jessica to do what was necessary. If we see that in the other episodes,
But I see when you make yourself vulnerable, you're not able to do that. But when you're vulnerable, you're doing what makes, I guess, life worth living. Is that you're protecting, you're caring, you're showing someone else, is important to you.
Yeah, it separates yourself, I guess, from the villains, and that's what we'll get. There's another theme, is like, how do you separate yourself from the villains? And it's because you're doing it out of the good of the people. But that's what I think Hope believed, is that for the good of the people, he had to die, and that's why she wanted to remove herself from the situation.
Well, let's move on to episode 12, if possible. I'm sorry to keep it kind of snappy. Take a bloody number. So the last episode ends with Jessica getting a message to go save her boyfriend and sees Luke get blown up in his bar. He walks out because he has unbreakable skin. But then she discovers that he was Killgrave into doing that, to wait for her, to have the lighter in his hand. And as we later learn, sadly, he's not out of Killgrave's control.
This show gives a whole new meaning to double agents.
Right.
Like, there's so many, you just can't tell. I know.
I didn't. I'll forgive you every day as long as you need. Oh, I wrote it.
And that's the other thing. Great twist in their romance. Does he actually believe that? Does he believe Jessica, and does he want to forgive Jessica, or was it Killgrave bringing out his intentions at the end?
Because we don't know. We never saw when he interacted with Killgrave. So when did this happen? When did the control take part? And I'm like, I want to know.
Very good. I think that was very good writing, especially.
Well, we don't know. Like, does he actually forgive her for what happened with Reva?
Yeah.
Did he say those mean things he said? When he was standing as, I guess, Killgrave's guard, more or less, in that club. It's hard to know, and I guess it really hurt. We never actually find out what he thinks, because they don't have another dialogue scene together for the rest of the series.
But what also is proven as well is that, like, Jessica, she talks about it. We will get on it later when we touch on it, but she is also out for survival as well. Like, she's got that survival instinct. She's willing to do what it takes, because I think she realizes she's the only one that can stop Killgrave. So she has to take actions, and she didn't know what was going to happen to Luke at this point. Taking, for instance, we're not moving into the next episode. We don't know. I know the guy's indestructible, but can he take a shotgun to the head? Because that's the only way she gets him off him at the end.
I mean, his skin's unbreakable. His skin.
His shotguns are pretty powerful.
But there's stuff under there that's not indestructible, probably.
Yeah, no doubt.
We also have Trish's mother re-entering the picture and talking about a verbally abusive childhood. And she does figure out about IGH and their connection to Jessica. They funded her medical bills when she was recovering after the accident that took her parents. I don't know that this is important now, as Trish says. We'll maybe just explore this later. But it does show that interesting bond, and I guess more that what bonds Jessica and Trish together. We get such a I would say a creepy introduction into their childhood. I mean, like, I didn't really understand the relationship between. We touched on it earlier when Jessica threatened her mother not to come back into it, and I was thinking, how bad could it be? And then when you see it, it's pretty dark. Like, she's trying to make her daughter into a star and taking the most extreme measures and trying to get her to throw up and try to perfect her into a certain way. So it was it kind of justifies the way that Jessica threatens her in the earlier episodes.
It's a lot to wrap up with one more episode to go.
I know.
And I won't be here in Scotland. I'll be sending my messages.
Well, why don't you send us the highlights? We'll read them.
I'll wear some more bow ties.
See what Bibbs has to say. Get yourself a purple suit. It'll be all good. So we will be coming back next week, at least some of us, with the wrap-up of Jessica Jones. Let us know what you think below in the comments. Again, I didn't introduce everyone, but that was Meredith Placko. This is Francis Maxwell, and I'm Kim Horcher. Thank you so much.